All right, James Isington. I need the next book now. Hello, everyone. Welcome to A Skeleton's Library. You know, it's funny to do my first book review and have it be the second book in a series. But when I decided to start this channel, I knew this book was coming out soon, and I knew it's what I wanted to start this journey with. When writing this script, I had just finished the book minutes prior, so I'm ready to just jump into it. I'm going to start with my general, non spoiler thoughts for anyone who is maybe on the fence about getting this book. Then I'm going to go into heavy spoilers and talk about the story. If you're on the fence for this book, just buy it. With this one, I am officially a dedicated fan of James Isington, and I will be reading his first series at some point now. To me, this is everything a sequel should be. The golden stakes have exploded in scope, and everything builds up to endings that leave you feeling a need for the third book ASAP. Isington is a master of juggling plot threads. So many that started to build from the first book continue effortlessly in this new one, and integrate well with all the new plot threads that are introduced. Nothing in this book feels forced. It's such a natural progression, I cannot help but be impressed, considering the three POVs Isington is weaving together. That's the main thing all the readers of the first book were anticipating too, I imagine. At least I very much was. Wondering how confusing the three POVs would be, especially with how they are introduced at the end of the first book. Isington pretty much expertly guides each one, though. While there are small symbols to indicate whose chapter it is, you really do not need them after the first three chapters. Each POV is so distinct. It really is like reading three different books interwoven into one. None really fall short either. By the time you switch to another POV, you're wishing for more of the previous one, before then getting sucked into the current one and having the same experience and so on. He really excels at ending chapters. He's just so good at ending with hooks and cliffhangers that leave you on the edge of wanting more. Not to mention the bastard does that to its fullest extent with the endings of the book, making you wish you were in the future where the series was completed. His prose and writing style are also so smooth and easy to follow along. This series is one that's so easy to kill hours to, without even noticing. I read the book in 2 days, and that was with me stopping myself so I could do less important things, like work and eat. The Strength of the Few is a perfect example of a sequel and middle book in a series. The stakes explode in enormity from the start. New characters you will love and hate flooded. Everything expands in such a big, natural way that this book feels so drastically different from the first. It really feels like a special journey to be part of. And if Isington lands it, which I'm fairly certain he will, this could easily be one of the fantasy classics of our generation. This and Sunny are being such natural, good evolutions to things like Dude. Now, with all that said, I am going to get into more heavy spoiler talk. So if you have a modicum of interest in this story or series, leave now. Spoilers starting now. Man, from a creative standpoint, I really admire the boldness of how Isington started this book. Going from an academic spy thriller, with the higher end of the stakes being things like death and revolution, to all that plus end of the world scenarios, and not just one, but multiple realities. I'm choosing to start with the copies in Opitium and Lucium. I will probably be butchering a lot of pronunciations during this review. It was such a bold move though, that more than paid off in how he set the stakes. I also really like how much tension was added to the story at first, with me considering the possibility of any of the new Vizes dying. This does get lessened though when you learn that synchrony is kind of essential for the resolution of the story, and so I became much more sure that none of the Vizes were going to die. At least not in this book. It doesn't erase all the new stakes added with all the new characters though, as you know not everyone is going to make it, and now you have characters from 3 storylines to get close to. The 3 POVs also just add so much more to the Viz and the story. I love seeing how each adapted and evolved based on the world they were in, and how they discovered what was happening to them in different points of the story. seeing how each one approaches the inevitability of finally having to take a life. It adds so much more to Viz as a character, as he gets 3 times the character development. I think Viz is easily going down as an all-time protagonist for me, especially with how much I enjoy watching his character grow and struggle with his ideals, and how he chooses to evolve or abandon parts of them. Ideals are such a big part of this story and world. Ideologies are constantly crashing and struggling all around Viz as he struggles to stick to his original beliefs and learns the faults of them. I appreciate the more mature storytelling and the questions posed all around as the story tackles things like the unconscious evil of complacency, the sins of systems built on greed, and whether any form of rule is truly perfect. Do people deserve to die for maintaining a broken and evil system? Is the strength of the few truly all that matters in the end? Is it even remotely possible to fix things without bloodying your hands or losing some parts of yourself? I appreciate all the questions this story brings into the fold, even if any aren't particularly new. It also does not feel like any ideology is particularly right, or that Icington is biased too much towards one, except for one of them. Almost every person has some sort of reason you can empathize with, or a good point they make. They also pretty much all have some point or action that goes too far. Everyone that is but Viz's father. I still enjoy his character, but I will say, of all characters, he feels almost too perfect. In a world of so many complex characters, it feels like everything he says or does is pretty much the most optimal and perfect thing. I also really like the ongoing theme of survival, how it isn't enough to just survive, how that shapes Viz over and over, how it pushes him at the end of the first book to take a position in governance, but even the Viz and Lucium has to decide not to live a normal life. All the sacrifices Viz makes for the greater good because he learns you can't just survive. It's a really beautiful evolution so far, though of course, with the ending of this book, he could easily go in a darker direction. To go back to things expanding, the world building and Will are crazy in this one. Learning about Ka and all the applications of Will was so fascinating. I really do like it as a magic system. I can't wait for Viz to use it more in all its different applications across the realities. Not to mention all the twists at the end, and the fact that Ka is probably not even the true big bad, and the implications that has, especially with Viz in the Obitium seemingly stabbing the Ka there in the heart. Icington is really good at subverting expectations in general, but especially in ways where the end result is still pretty much where you thought it would be. Like with Equa being the one to become a Quintus instead of Viz, but that also not mattering too much since she is completely loyal to him. Speaking of Equa though, man, her death was so sudden and brutal, I think it hit me harder than Calidus in the first book. I thought she might die, but the suddenness of it was crazy, especially knowing there's no chance she's coming back, unlike Viz's family in Calidus. That whole ending of Rez's storyline was so brutal to read, and then with the endings and the possibilities of them, I really wonder if this series is going to be happier than I expected, or go the darker way I think it might be heading. Just to bring it up quickly, I really liked how this system was described at the end. It really reminded me of the White Walkers in the Song of Ice and Fire, this undead enemy that just grows and grows. New character-wise, I think Carer in Obitium was easily my favorite. He was such a magnetic character and so easy to like. Really like an even more charismatic version of Viz. So it sucks he really is not around long. I'm hoping to see more of him in the next book though, and learning more about the one in Lucium. Ustius was also a great mysterious, antagonistic force, especially with the information we learn about him. He's such a compelling character when we know so little, especially with the powers he has. I think overall, I cared about the new characters in Lucium the least though. I still like them, and I can easily see myself becoming much more invested with Tara as the storyline continues. Obitium was much more compelling to me of the two new realities as well, though a post-apocalyptic Egypt-like setting is hard to beat. Res was still my favorite overall though, obviously, with my bias for Roman things showing, alongside it being a direct continuation of the story from the first book. All in all, the strength of the feud does exactly what it wants and needs to do. The next book will also be a day one buy, and from a writer's standpoint, I really admire the skills of Islington. Hierarchy is really something special, and I cannot wait to see how it continues. That'll be all for this book review and discussion though. Leave your thoughts about the book in the comments. I'd love to have more discussions about it, and I'll see you next time.